We heard from Nebraska head coach Matt Rule coming off the Huskers' 44-25 win over Wisconsin, and the Huskers now in a short week for Iowa. Before we get to that, this report brought to you by Game Time. There is no better place to get your tickets for Friday's game, the upcoming bowl game, whatever the event is. Check out the Game Time app, and you're going to find the most options for all the tickets you want, from games to concerts, and you can use the promo code ON3, and we're going to give you $20 off on the Game Time app. As for on the field, we heard from head coach Matt Rule after practice as his team now is getting ready for a short week.
You know, the challenge of a short week, obviously, is just kind of, you lose a day. So, today we went out there, we practiced like it was a Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll practice like it's a Wednesday. Typically, I don't do that, but because of also the Thanksgiving component of this and some of the things that we'll do later in the week, we treated it this morning like Tuesday.
And there was a lot to like with what came out of that win against Wisconsin this past Saturday.
I just think I think our guys I don't think there's been a game where they weren't like dying to win. I think this is really hard. This has been hard, right? And it requires really tough people to do the stuff that we've been trying to do to kind of get over that hump, right? And when you lose to Indiana the way we did, then you come back against Ohio State, then you lose to Ohio State, and then you come back against UCLA, then you lose to UCLA, and then I make some changes, then you lose to USC. It's only reasonable that you would either lose your confidence or start to question things, right? Like, well, why are we working so hard if we're not getting the result that we want? And maybe we should be doing this. It's not like I sit there and say to the guys, hey, don't doubt. Trust. It's only you guys asked me if this was big for me. I was like, yeah, this was big for me. This is I know I believe in what we do, but still, it's great to have some representation of, hey, it's working here for us right now. Even though you see it at practice, you like to see it in the game. So I've never doubted their effort, right? In fact, like last week, Dana and I were talking. He was like, sometimes, it's like times you feel like, maybe we're pressing a little bit too much, just trying to do too much. And I thought you saw a group on Saturday that was just pretty relaxed and pretty in the moment offensively. So I know how much the Iowa game means to our guys. I mean, we sat there last year. Like, I loved that group last year, and walking off the field after losing on the way we lost, right? We pick the ball off, we get a holding call, we throw a pick. They just kind of run the clock out. Guy makes a great run, and then the field goal just gets over the goalpost. That's a credit to Coach Ferentz and the way he does things. But walking off the field, their players are waving at our guys. Have a good Christmas. That was painful. That was really painful. So I don't doubt that our guys will be ready, but their guys are going to be ready. None of it. It really just comes down to football, right? If we false start, we're probably not going to win. If we turn the ball over, we're not going to win. If we can win the turnover battle, we'll have a chance to win. And so if we can tackle, I think it all comes down to the preparation. It's not all these other things. And that's a great thing about finally getting a bowl drought over with, because it's not these things. It's just like, make this play, make this kick. John Hull, if John Hull doesn't do what he's done the last 2 months of getting better and better and better as a kicker, then we don't have we have a different kicker and a different snapper than we did at the beginning of the year. And those guys have just gotten incrementally better to all of a sudden you get to a game like that, and if he's not making those field goals, the game's a lot different. So this week, to me, that's why we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it. We came out and just got right back to work, because I know Iowa's they're going to be prepared, they're going to work, and we have to make sure we're in our fits on defense, and we have to make sure we're not continuing to give up we're giving up too many big plays passing right now, way too many, and so we just have to make sure the football's right. But I'm sure they'll prepare high this week.
With that said, they know the challenge they're going to see with Iowa and their talented running game.
I mean, they've always been, to me, like when I first learned how to run outside zone, I go all the way back to learning from Rick Kaczynski, who I know coached here as well. He was a great D-line coach, but learning from him, learning from Coach Ferentz, that's how I first learned, the way that I've always taught the run game. So, I mean, they've always been the premier outside zone team, counter team in the country. I think Caleb Johnson's playing at an unbelievably high level. They've got a veteran offensive line. I think Coach Lester's brought in. They're doing a lot of what you see NFL teams doing. Like they're running the ball to the open side, then checking it versus any 4-week threat to zap to the front side. So a lot of us who've been in the NFL, it's kind of what we know, and they're doing it really, really well. And I don't want to underestimate. This back is fantastic. I mean, he makes people miss, and he can burst and go the distance. they've kind of done it two different ways. With Sullivan out there because he was a running threat, they were doing it one way. With McNamara out there, it was a little bit different, and I think that's the mark of great coaches. Whatever quarterback's been out there, they've been able to do it, to stay in the same scheme, but whatever fits that quarterback. And then now, as we're not sure who the quarterback is, they've kind of had a hybrid model in between. So I think they're doing a really good job, and they've run some people off the field just by running the football down their throat.
Weather could also be an issue for Nebraska at Iowa, as this game will be played in some of the colder conditions Nebraska has faced all season.
I don't worry about the weather. I mean, we go in the mornings here, which is great in some ways. But in the spring, I mean, there's plenty of days that we're out there and there's 30-mile-an-hour winds and it's 18, 20 degrees. I mean, it was 22 degrees last week. It was cold as could be out. I mean, today was, I'm wearing you never see me wear a jacket. I wore a jacket out there today. Like, it's cold today. Where we practice, last week, we were throwing, it was, 35-mile-an-hour gusts, and we were throwing into the gusts. The way Dana does 7-on-7, he goes this way for half and this way for half. And so, I mean, our guys are tough. Iowa's guys are tough. I think the game will come down to football. I think our guys will, if there was maybe ice on the field or snow, it might be a little different. But I feel pretty good about our ability to handle the cold, just because we do it in the spring and then we do it again in the fall. We don't really ever go inside unless I really need the crowd noise from the indoor.
When Matt Rule talks about the success they've had with new offensive coordinator Dana Holgorsen, one of the big things has been Holgorsen has really slimmed down the overall playbook.
Like I said, when I first got here, like he came in and said, "Hey, let's just scale back in terms of the amount that we're doing." We're still doing a lot, still doing a lot. And like I said, there's a couple times in that game where he was trying to find the words because he's had one language for I don't know 30 years. And now all of a sudden he has a completely different language. And so, Coach Glenn and Garrett and Sat did a great job of, I think, sometimes helping with the words in the middle of the game. But he has a picture of what he wants it to look like. And it's interesting for me. It's my first time being around there. It's very collaborative. Like, they sit in the room together for hours upon hours upon hours and put together a game plan together. So it's been really cool for me. I'm always trying to learn. It's good for me to learn from.
We also saw Holgorsen not afraid to hold players accountable. We saw Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda enter the game after a penalty, and we even saw Thomas Fedoni take the bench after a false start penalty where Fedoni only played 3 snaps the entire game.
The lessons of the game are the lessons of the season, right? Like we fumbled the ball on the 20-yard line. If we do that against Iowa, who's plus 11, we're not going to win. So while people, I think Dana's done an amazing job. Let me start there. But I think if you say, like, it's the play call, you hear Dana on the headset the whole time, he's just talking about execution. Like, the guys who practiced the best on Thursday last week played. Some guys had some false starts and some mistakes on Thursday. He's like, he's out. 13, you're in. Let's go. So IGC got a chance to play, and he made a play in the game. So there's a real focus on execution. And when the guys execute the play calls, and so I think that was the message to the guys, like, hey, if you execute and practice at a high level, you're going to have an opportunity to play in the game, and then when you get in the game, make the most of it. And so when we had penalties, we didn't score on those drives. When we snap the ball on third down, we're going on 2, and we snap it on 1, and all of a sudden the ball's in the quarterback's hands. There's nothing he can do. But when we just settled down and just played, then guys made the plays necessary to make. So it's kind of a blend of everything we've been trying to say to them all year come into life. Like, hey, just go execute. I think the thing Dana's done a great job of is, like I said, he's cut things down to a degree, but also he's demanding that they execute if they want to get on the field. And that's kind of how we handle things on defense. And, I think it's kind of now played over to offense as well.
In other news, Rule did confirm that sophomore wide receiver Malachi Coleman made it known he plans to enter the transfer portal.
Malachi, came in and I hope it's. I just didn't want to talk about that on Thursday, right? I thought there was more important time of the game, but yeah, Malachi came in, let us know he was going to go in the portal. So obviously, wish him the best. Great young man, local guy. Had some really big moments for us last year. Was redshirting and developing, and I think what we're going to this year, I think we're going to probably end up with between 30 and 50 guys in the portal. Just with the roster and all things that are going to have to happen. So. Wish Malachi. I can't say anything but great things about Malachi, and obviously not one that I wanted to go in the portal. But I really don't want any of them to go in the portal. I want them all to stay here and develop. It's just the new world we're in. It's going to be different. So,
and then finally, it is the high school state championship games in Lincoln this week. And Rule said it's a great thing to have these games played in Lincoln.
I think it's great. I think what you want is you want all the young people across the state to grow up someday dreaming of playing here. Playing at Memorial Stadium, whether it's in the state championship or eventually here with us. So, I think one of our jobs is to nurture football, whether it's clinics that we do, youth camps that we do, hosting high school games, hosting all the, smaller schools, colleges in the state. They come over to us and visit us, watch practice. We want to be a place that supports football.
Reporting here with the Nebraska football team in Lincoln, I'm Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline.com.